Mark, how are you today, sir?
Great. How are you doing today?
Very, very well. So we are obviously recording this session. Welcome to the Elevator Pitch Showdown. This session is set up for us to listen to your elevator pitch and provide hopefully a powerful experience for you where you'll give your pitch. We have the audience here that's going to give feedback. And then if you would like, Mark, I will attempt. I will allow myself to embarrass myself to our thousands and thousands of viewers on LinkedIn and our social media, as well as with the class. And I will pitch your idea back to you, Mark. Okay. Now, before we kick off, because the audience would probably want to know, Mark, where are you joining us from?
From Denver, Colorado, USA.
From the great state of Colorado. Great to have you here. And so let's kick off now, just to kind of frame up everything as well. This is supposed to be a learning experience for yourself, as well as everyone else that's here in the crowd. We'll keep the elevator pitch to 1 minute, okay? And so that's the idea. If you'll notice, I am going up the World Trade Center. You can see the New York backdrop behind me. And this elevator lasts 1 minute, okay? So we want to keep the elevator pitches tight. We want to simulate what happens in the real world. All right, Mark, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Mark, I'm hitting the top of the elevator. I'm going to shoot right down and we can begin our elevator pitch, okay? Here goes. Hi, Mark. My name is Singh. How you doing?
Great. How are you doing today?
Very well, very well. Tell me what you're working on.
So I'm developing Marine Marketplace, which is an online marketplace similar to eBay that allows aquarium hobbyists to sell and buy their overgrown coral between each other. This reduces demand taken from the ocean. In addition, it acts as a living ark so that we can replant the dead reefs with living coral. And so the goal, yeah, it's probably about 1 minute.
Well, what are you looking for, Mark? How can I help you?
Um,
What do you need? Is there something that you need? Are you looking, are you looking for investment money? Are you looking for support, market access? What are you looking for?
yeah, so we're looking for funding for the next couple of years.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. All right, Mark from the Marine Marketplace has given his elevator pitch. Let's get some feedback. For Mark, okay? Let's throw some stuff in the chat. Mark, I'm going to ask a couple of questions as well, right? Just to kind of warm up, and then if you'd like, I'm happy to do an elevator pitch back. So when we think about climate goals, right, and we think about kind of how the world is evolving, it's great to have startups like yourself that are actively trying to build a business whilst actually solving a real problem that needs to be solved. My question to you, can you give us some data around, felt like I wanted to know the data around dead corals, right? Like, I have I've lived in Singapore for a long time, so going to the Great Barrier Reef, okay, in Australia, and you see about how that's being bleached. Can you give us some background about how big of a problem this is?
Yes, most definitely. It seems, I mean, I was on the Great Barrier Reef myself 10 years ago, and it was absolutely beautiful. And now I'm terrified to go back because it's like 70% of it is just gone.
Yes.
It's horrifying. And it seems to be that in the next 10 to 20 years, if we don't do anything, all reefs will be completely gone. So now's the time.
Is that how bad it is? Wow. All of it is, wow.
Yeah,
So,
the 1 or 2 degrees of change in the ocean is completely different than 1 to 2 degrees here on land. 1 to 2 degrees will kill everything.
got it. The other thing is Mark, I wanted to kind of understand a little bit about the value proposition around what you're doing, because I'm not I understand coral is actually very expensive, right, to buy. So
Yes.
if you in your community, because you talked about a marketplace like eBay, I understand that, but this is kind of a live, plant marketplace, right? So tell me about, how much does it cost to buy coral right now, and how much would it cost to buy coral through your platform? There must be some cost advantage, correct?
Yes. Corals range anywhere from $100 to $500 a piece.
Okay.
And we would, as on like a resale market, it would be 50 to 75% of that cost of that price. So $75, $50 compared to $100 that you would get to go to a local fish store. And this is a surprisingly large market, about 5 billion worldwide.
And tell me about are reefs actually important? Do we need reefs on the planet? I know this is a dumb question, Mark, but I just want to categorically,
Great question.
we have a
Yeah.
lot of listeners that listen, and we always try to inspire them. So this might sound like a dumb question, but why are reefs, corals needed? Tell me about that.
Yeah, coral reefs account for 11 trillion of the world's economy, primarily as a nursery for our fish. So most of the fish that we catch, they are born and raised on the coral reefs.
Interesting. Okay, so this is a big problem. Is that right?
That's correct.
So corals are gone. What happens to the fish population?
They pretty much go to zero.
Is it? Is it that
Yeah.
bad? Okay, I didn't know that it was going to be that.
There's most fish are raised on the coral reefs. There are some that are not, but at least 70% are raised on the coral reefs.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So like, I feel like there's a save the world moment, right, Mark? That I wanted to, you know what I mean?
That's correct.
And I wanted that to come out, right? That whole semantic on the story, it didn't. I wanted that to be emphasized, because if 70%, say even 50% of the fish, and so I feel like we can make that happen. Now let me ask my last question, and for everyone else, feel free to put your feedback in the chat, because it's always good to get feedback and questions or anything from the crowd. But how do we go about fixing the coral problem, in the ocean? Is there something that we can do? Is there like some plan for you, as is there a way to solve that as part of what you're doing, or is that just never going to come back?
As part of what I'm doing, the plan is to develop this living arc essentially through this platform.
Okay.
That way we can replant the reefs with these corals that are more heat tolerant, or find other places in the world to start planting coral reefs that are now better suited, whereas they weren't suited for coral reefs 10 years ago, but due to climate change, they are now better suited to have coral reefs. So we can start planting those areas again.
Now, you didn't mention that in your pitch, which I think is very interesting, right? Okay. Because what you can say, for instance, is 10% of the profits of what you're doing are going towards replanting, right? Coral reefs around the world, right? And your social mission is to restore that, right, Mark?
Correct.
Now, the last question is with every pitch, it's always good to have an ask, right? It's always good to be in a position where you ask for something, right? And I wanted to come back to that, right? When you meet, an investor, or you meet somebody that is a marine biologist, for instance, right? There's all these elements that you might require from them. And so I wanted to come back to the ask, right? You're looking for funding. It's always good to kind of know a little bit about how much, what do you need, right? And in the startup world, you always have to be asking, right? You're always asking for, stuff. So I wanted to come back to that. How much money do you think you need? Or are you still building your cash flow model and mapping that out?
Still mapping it out in the beginning stages, but we're looking at around 2 million now.
2 million US dollars. Okay. Got it.
Correct.
All right. So Mark, would you like me to pitch this idea back to you? Would you
Yes,
like me-
please.
So I'm for the next 1 minute, I will be the one of your co-founders, right? No, zero equity co-founders, but I'll be one of the marine marketplace co-founders. And you get to be somebody. Or do you want to be an investor, Mark? Is that who you want to be?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. So you can decide who you would like to be, right? Because you're going to introduce yourself, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch this idea. Just again, you're looking for $2 million in capital, right? We talked about over the next 10 to 20 years, the coral reef population is probably going to go to almost non-existent. Coral reefs represent the basis for 50 to 70% of all fish in the sea, right? So there's a huge dilemma happening right now, right? And but is that correct? Did I summarize it correctly? Okay,
That's correct.
My data is correct. So we're going to hand it over to you now. The other thing around this, okay, to make it even more difficult for me, Mark, I'm going to ask if either Menchie or Christine, they can time this session. Okay. And what happens is Christine or Menchie, when you hit 1 minute, just raise your hand. Okay. Because not only do I have zero preparation for this pitch, I also have a time constraint, right? I have to practice what I preach. A lot of professors just go talk and tell people what to do. I've actually got to put the same restrictions I put on Mark. Okay. If that's okay. Right. So you just, one of you guys can just raise your hand. Like once I start introducing myself, that's when the timing will start. Okay. So don't start it right now because that's going to be terrible. So over to you, Mark. Let's get your introduction. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mark, a partner at a local VC firm. How are you?
I'm very well, Mark. My name is Ash Singh, and I'm part of the Marine Marketplace team. As you might know, climate change is happening around us. And for me, I was very touched and troubled by the fact that with climate change, water temperatures are going up. And when water temperatures go up, the coral reefs around the world that represent the livelihood and the birthplace of 50 to 70% of all fish are basically going to vanish over the next 10 to 20 years. So what we decided to do was Marine Marketplace is a connected community of aquarium lovers that are going to help build, develop, grow corals, and use it as a marketplace to sell and sell at a discount, right? 50 to 70% off what people normally pay. But more importantly, we are going to create the largest population of coral growers to change the environment itself. We're going to try to be active in replanting coral around the world where it can happen. And we hope that you can play a role to make this happen. We need $2 million of investment, and we hope that you can make an impact in the fish community and the sea community around the world. Thank you.
That was great.
So that's how I would kind of position it. This is a big thing, Mark. You know what I mean? Right? You got your marketplace, but that's what keeps you going. But you are saving the world. You actually are, right? There's people we say, hey, how are you changing the world? You are actually changing the world, Mark. Okay. And that's what I want people when they walk away. It's like, wow, even if they don't want to invest, they want to help Mark. Okay. They at least walk away saying, hey, let me put you in touch with somebody that's going to make it happen. All right, Mark?
All right.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us and congratulations on what you've been building. We look forward to being part of your success, right? Thank you, Mark. Have a great day.
Thank you.